I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And we are the Heroes 3. Welcome to Heroes 3, the bi-weekly podcast where three friends explore the best, worst, and everything in between in the world of Asian cinema. And this week we are continuing our look, or are we wrapping it up? Actually, I should have asked you that before.
We are wrapping up.
All right, we are wrapping up our look at the films of Zhang Yimou with 2018's Shadow. And apologies for the lateness of this episode. We've had a lot of crap happening in our personal lives, but that's not for this episode.
Yeah.
This is for fun wuxia stuff.
That's right.
So Carlos, this is our most recent movie. This is one of the most recent movies we've done on this show, besides our occasional, new release episodes. So, what was the decision behind this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could have gone with, but I think that
The Great Wall, starring Matt Damon.
Well, and we're definitely going to talk about that too, because that kind of informs what we're watching today. But 2018 Shadow is kind of a Zhang Yimou film that kind of hit with me in a way that not a lot of his stuff had for a while. And one of the reasons that I do think is because he actually contributed to the script. He hadn't been doing that for some time, and this is also a very visual wuxia film, kind of the opposite of what we've been talking about before. But I think it's a really great way to put a cap on this look at this filmmaker. And honestly, like I said before, what an arc we've seen of a director. Really. And I think this is also kind of another step in how I am curious about how a director's career, the trajectory of a director. So I don't know what your guys' history, what the history is with this film, but I saw it as soon as I could in the United States. When it came out, I believe it was Well Go that released it in the States, and I saw it streaming. I don't own this physically. It's probably the only one of his that I don't, but here is Shadow. Before we do dig into it, though, I did want to mention something that actually locally, upcoming event I'm participating in at the Milwaukee Art Museum. I'm actually representing the podcast, and I'm very excited to be cool. Co-hosting a kind of a talk back for a Milwaukee premiere of a film called Africa, A Kung Fu Story. And this is like an amazing documentary, and I can't wait for more people to see it. But I am going to be discussing the film with the film's composer, Arnold Cifax Jr. And the Art Museum invited me to do this, and I'm super excited. And if you're around and you would like to participate in that, we will add this link to the show notes, and I will be mentioning it on my socials as well.
Dude, yeah. So cool. And I think it kind of marks the first sort of occasion like this where there's like some form of the podcast in a kind of panel conversation outside of itself. We had our amazingly fun panel at VGM Con this year, but I love the idea of kind of like interacting just with active living movie making that's going on. Dude, so excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Of course, I wish you guys could be there too, but I think it will be recorded in some way. I'll find out, but either way, it's going to be a really good time, and I'm very excited.
Awesome.
But Shadow. Let me pass it over to you guys. Like, have you experienced this?
I don't have much because I literally didn't know what Shadow was until you said the next episode we're talking about Shadow.
I do remember that. That's funny.
So no, I had no history with this whatsoever. But I did really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Cool. What about you, Marty?
Yeah, similar. I mean, I think maybe like some other folks had definitely an interesting reaction to kind of Zhang Yimou's developing career in the 2000s, and we've already briefly alluded to The Great Wall. I'm sure we'll be talking about it a little bit, but thinking about a project like that, famous for having just kind of a gargantuan budget and really being stalled in production, and also trying to appeal maybe even kind of brazenly to like a international or Western market. There was almost nothing about that reminded a lot of folks of the Zhang Yimou that they might have fallen in love with in the 90s. And in general, we've been maybe starting to tell that kind of story in this arc. You know, the crude version might be something like, oh, what's happening to this artist that we love? Are they, slipping from their values or principles? And I think I have to admit, maybe to just not kind of confront some of that stuff, I really did end up stepping away from Zhang Yimou films kind of after Curse of the Golden Flower. So I've never seen The Great Wall in its entirety. And I know there have been a handful of other kind of smaller films. I have been curious. I do remember hearing good things about Shadow, and I'm so glad you brought it to the podcast. And I think it ends up being kind of a perfect culmination in a lot of ways. Like, there's one part of it, it kind of depends, like light and shadow, I guess. Depends sort of on where you're standing as you're looking at some of this stuff. And I could imagine standing from one angle and seeing this as a kind of like return to form, like a kind of reclaiming of some of Zhang Yimou's powers. I could also see standing from another angle and finding it kind of sort of a disheartening little cap, kind of in the vein of what we've already sort of been talking about, like how has this person sort of strayed, or maybe even opening up to kind of like a bigger question, like how has filmmaking in the Chinese speaking world changed and maybe strayed somewhat. I think that's all in there, but really at the heart of it, I think this is an extremely tight and strong screenplay. It has that kind of like mythic fable quality that's so important to Hero, let's say. And I'm curious how you guys reacted to it. I'll probably end up saying a lot about the just kind of like digital, I don't know, vibe and look of this thing, which I'm not a great fan of, but I will say I think Shadow contains really some of the strongest action filmmaking that I think I've ever seen from Zhang Yimou. And what kind of took me by surprise about it is I think there's a lot of beautiful visual compositions throughout, but I found a lot of the human drama staged in maybe a little more of a plain, almost TV kind of way than I, come to expect from Zhang Yimou. But I really felt him being like extremely activated by all the action. And I don't know, in these action sequences, I just felt kind of like the enthusiasm and I don't know, like the ballsiness of like a really young artist or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I thought there was a lot that's exciting about it. I wonder if you guys ended up doing this. It's hard to kind of like not imagine if this could have been made in like 98 or 99 with maybe a different stable of talent in front of the camera or something. But yeah, I think a really strong idea of a screenplay. I think it's executed very well. And I think there's some tremendous action in this thing. And also it'll be a chance to kind of shout out Kuhuan Chu, who I don't think we've really even like referred to by name, but he's someone that basically he was like a stunt double in the 80s. I think he was even in one of the Winners and Sinners movies, but he basically connected with the Yun clan.
He was in Winners and Sinners.
Great.
My Lucky Stars.
Yeah, he had connected with the Yun clan, I think around the time of like Once Upon a Time in China 1, when Yun Chengyan was working on that. And he was kind of inseparable from the Yun clan like throughout all the 90s and their US projects like Matrix, Kill Bill, and he was a part of that team, I think, all the way up through Forbidden Kingdom, I want to say. And
sorry, he was in My Lucky Stars. Not
My Lucky Stars. Okay,
the second one.
Okay,
I think it's the second one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's they all like the same name. They're hard to remember.
But yeah, I've got to say, I'm super into this combination of he and Zhang Yimou, and nothing but respect to Tony Ching Siu Tung, but I don't know. I think they're just like a really great fit for each other, and you do get a lot of beautiful kind of like Yun Clan kind of energy and shape. But like I was saying a second ago, I also think Zhang Yimou is just extremely confident with the action here. And the slow motion sequences, especially, are just, amazing. And I think he used a new sort of digital camera that was built for like high speed photography, especially like for this. And I think that's
cool.
those are some of the most stunning moments in the whole thing, I think. But yeah, anyways, lots of feelings, but
Yeah,
really,
I like that.
really grateful for the movie.
Yeah, I was pretty taken with the movie when I first saw it. Of course, I'm very visually driven, so I really enjoyed that, and that it was a wuxia, that action was a part of this film. Really got me excited. It does. It feels very modern mainland China vibe. The major films that you see, and before we recorded, you mentioned how clean things look, and you get that. I do really enjoy the atmosphere of the film, and I like also what you said about having it maybe being produced in the late 90s, imagining who would be in these. I am familiar with at least a couple of the main. Our lead. I recognized him, and I did some searching in my history, and I'm pretty sure it was from Detective D.
Sure. And
he's
the
one
lead
of the
actress we
leads.
Encountered in Fearless.
In Fearless, yes.
Yeah.
And they're actually a couple in real life, and I think that's really informs. They were a couple when this was released as well, and
cool.
I think that kind of informed the casting as well.
They definitely have great chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
But here we are talking about his films in this arc, and I can't help but think about what we've encountered, like with Hero, and understanding his work in To Live, and we talked about Red Sorghum and all of this, and in this film, I feel like the messaging, besides the conceit of the double and the kind of the title of the film being Shadow and his struggle, when you think about the other themes in the movie, it's very confusing to me, because it's a movie that kind of, like, the villain of this movie is the only person that's advocating for peace when you hear him talk, and he's portrayed as like a coward, and
and like he's weak, he's wimpy,
and everyone else in this movie wants war. They want to fight to retake the city that they're fighting over.
You do get a little flavor of like the early, I don't know, alpha like ascendancy or whatever, where it's like there is a little bit of that flavor in it, and even aesthetically too.
The Emperor is very beta.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah,
it is weird.
So
and like you said, it's like we've mentioned it several times throughout this arc, but it's funny seeing a director. Usually, directors start off with like their popcorny kind of stuff, and then once they get their kind of want to get their accolades, they want to get awards and stuff, then they start talking about like serious issues. And in this case with Zhang Yimou, he talked about very serious issues and political stuff in China and their history, their recent history I should say, and all that's right up front. And then this is a bunch of high flying war, ancient Chinese,
And when you hear, this film premiered in Toronto in the West in 2018, and there's a Q&A you can find, and when people ask him at this Q&A about what he thinks of the themes of this, he doesn't mention any of this kind of war stuff. He's completely focused on the idea of the duplicate, the double, the shadow, and I don't know. It's weird to me. I feel like if you watch a film like this and you're paying attention, I don't know. I almost feel like the visual style is almost like this kind of shroud over it. Like, hey, I'm gonna make this look so cool. It's gonna be
Mhm.
almost like a magic trick. You're not paying attention to the other stuff that's happening, and to a similar degree, I would say Hero is that way as well. You know, 9 times out of 10, when you hear people talking about Hero, they're talking about how beautiful the movie is and how amazing the
Yeah.
action is. You don't really get a lot of people talking about the message of the film itself, and
No, I
I
Yeah.
mean
think
it's in the
that's true.
title,
There
Hero.
still
You
is
know?
some kind of feeling of him like threading the needle, sort of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, yeah, this tale is so simply told that it's kind of in the eye of the beholder what you're
Mm-hmm.
taking out of it politically or whatever. And here, and I would say, even when it comes to the incredible like visual talents of Zhang Yimou, I really don't think of them as like parallel to, I don't know, airbrush plastic surgery, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that would not be the most like fair way to describe this movie. But when you were saying a few minutes ago, Carlos, it's like there's some of the trappings of, mainland China 2010s and beyond kind of
Mm-hmm.
filmmaking. And it's not a phenomenon that's just isolated to them. I mean, I would say for the past 15 years, I struggle huge with Bollywood cinema, where I just feel like it's
Mm-hmm.
populated with just like the wealthy children in front of the camera that have afforded, I don't know, the right kind of grooming, but just don't, the camera doesn't actually love them the way
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
they're supposed to love a movie star, and then just like magnetism isn't there. And there's a
Yeah, and
lot of just like this
overproduced, you
bro
know?
alpha thing of like, I just need to look cool and or pretty at all times.
Yeah.
Uh
Can never lose.
and when you think about what's beautiful in Raise the Red Lantern, and it's so unfair that that's even an option to compare against
To
here.
be a
But like,
comparison, yeah.
but it's like it is beautifully stunning, and it's beautiful in terms of like attractiveness of the actors, but also like the locations. But there's this, I don't know, every frame is sort of like weighted. It's very like heavy and lofty in the way like a great painting at your art museum would be, that like you kind of can't look away from. And for me, it's hard to say that much of that is happening here. And
Mhm.
it's, I don't know. I don't feel great like throwing that criticism out there, because I think some of it just has to do with the times in which maybe we find ourselves. And I know I can't separate like my own subjective thing that I'm like throwing onto it, but I don't know, to keep the kind of like hypothetical game going of like, okay, like who would you have cast in this if this was like 1998 or whatever. I've got to say like this and other kind of like current mainland Chinese films are really making me appreciate all all the great ways we had it in the 80s and 90s. Like, for instance, even take Jet Li. I would say by the end of his career, there are a handful of films where he was really appreciated as an actor. But if you go back in real time, that was not the attitude that people had towards Jet Li in
Mm,
the 90s as he was blowing up. He wasn't really understood to be a great actor or a great screen
yeah.
presence. But I don't know, when I look back at it now, I think Jet Li and plenty of other people coming out of, more of a Peking opera background or for whatever else, it's like so many of these guys and gals had crazy, I don't know, magnetism on screen, even if some of the acting chops weren't always there. And uh, yeah, I don't know, just feeling really thankful for
Mm,
what we what we have, kind of in that catalog. And I think there's some really strong folks in here. Yeah, especially that central duo or trio, I guess. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting to like where we find ourselves, and I think there are moments, especially of the action here, that feel like it's not something I've ever seen before, and it really feels like the medium is like pushing forward in some ways. And so maybe that's just kind of the nature of things, and that might be kind of the nature of Zhang Yimou's story in some ways, where it's like he, like a lot of other artists, he might have more at his disposal, and if so, he deserves it. But there are those kind of fascinating trade-offs, or like monkey's paw kind of trade-offs or something. By getting that far, I don't know.
The funny thing I always think of when I think of Jet Li is, you remember when, like, on The Simpsons, it was like the mob was fighting like the Yakuza.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Homer's like,
"But Marge, that little guy hasn't done anything yet. Look at him. He's going to do something, and you know it's going to be good."
Yeah, that's what I always think of when I think of Jet Li.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yep. But I would also say that visually, this film, you're starting to see a lot of kind of quote unquote AAA games come out of mainland China, like Black Myth Wukong and some other wuxia. Like almost all of them look like they're kind of riffing on what we see.
Dude, you're so
100%. Whenever I watched it, I was thinking, I feel like I've seen a couple of games that look like this, because that's the real brief version is that basically it is basically black and white except for like people's skin tone and occasionally other stuff. But like almost everything is completely black and white.
Ultimately.
Like they're in a blood is red, but it's kind of a muted red. They're in a bamboo forest that's like a very desaturated green, stuff like that. But it is almost entirely black and white.
Yeah, and there's a lot of effect
shots.
And
more black than white.
Yeah, there's a
and
lot
it's that
of
very like
effect
digital
shots
color
movie.
graded kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes. I think I wrote in my notes that it's like they took the desaturation slider and they didn't put it at 0, they put it at like 10.
Yeah. He does mention that he tried to make things as real as possible when he could. But I was mentioning there are a lot of effects shots in this movie, and like almost all the environments, there's some layer of effects, either in the foreground or the background.
They're mostly really successful. I think a lot of the visual effects. It's maybe more of a question of like the kind of constant, like the baseline look of the color grade and stuff is you sort of never escape the. Yeah, there's just like this is so cool, bro. Like this could be like a Imgur album or something. I don't know.
I do. I really like that it's raining always, and that's a factor in the plot of the movie, and that
there's
it's
some
a
gorgeous
constant
texture, especially when we get towards the end where he's really showcasing what can be great about like a super sharp digital pipeline. I think there's some really stunning sequences like that. Again, I think a lot of this is sort of unfair just because you have so much of his other work in the back of your mind, where it's like, even in Hero, you kind of feel how heavy the camera is, and that it's like, if it's locked off and still, I think subconsciously, that there's some kind of labor involved in that, and that it's like intentional. And I think a lot of digital tools in general, like in movie making and audio production, you don't always have a lot of that juicy, like subconscious sort of context, all that stuff you get for free. And so sometimes it's just like, if the camera's still, it just feels like empty or something.
and
no, it's the thing with film and with like reel to reel, magnetic tape recording, whatever, is to make something sound clean, you had to work really hard to get it clean. But in the digital age, clean is the default. And exactly. You kind of have to work to give it. You got to give it the juice in a different way. That's why like even bad movies tend to be shot better than like, some person shooting like a YouTube video or whatever. Because like, you still have to put effort in, even if you're, some bottom tier horror film in the 70s. You still have literal film that you have to be thinking about how the light hits it in a physical way.
I'd also say that this movie, Marty mentioned a little while ago how it kind of feels like a soap opera, or a drama, and
Yeah.
you know, it really kind of leans into that because you're basically following, you know, the actions of a handful of people. But also, I would say location wise, there's only really maybe like 4 or 5 locations that you get throughout the film. And because, I guess because of the constant rain, it feels very closed in. And
Yeah.
you don't really get a sense of traversal or a sense of a world outside of what you're seeing, and you're really caught up with the drama between these characters. So it feels pretty tight compared to something like House of Flying Daggers or Hero.
Right. Yeah, there's like maybe a little bit of like a, I don't know, claustrophobic stage play kind of thing that, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's really effective.
And
Which, I mean, a lot of it probably is, you know, The Great Wall is this gigantic movie that costs a crazy amount of money. It's going for an international appeal and stuff. And this is like a really good TV miniseries, you know?
there was a lot of money behind.
Like, and that sounds mean,
with a great
but,
hook. It's like a really great, but it's like, a really great hooky premise, I think.
I mean, that's not, there's a big budget behind this film as well. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about The Great Wall a little bit, and that was like what you said earlier. This is an international production, just shortly before this movie came out in 2018. I think it was 2016. And yeah, Matt Damon is the star of this film, and who else is in it? Pedro Pascal, Willem Dafoe. And it's a really surprising thing if you don't know what you're getting into. If you hear, oh, it's a Zhang Yimou film with an international cast, you're like, okay. But once that movie unfolds and you understand that it's basically a big kind of Hollywood blockbuster movie where you have Westerners arriving in China at the Great Wall, but without revealing too much, they're not fighting against humans. Watching that, I was like, wait, what the heck? Okay, now I understand what this is, but is there something else happening? Like, is this an allegory? And it's like, no, it's not. So, like, I don't know. And the production took a while, and it was considered a bomb. It lost a bunch of money, but it cost a lot of money to make it. But yeah, I guess Shadow after that is kind of a return to form, and I don't remember how successful it was. I guess it was successful enough, but I
think it was pretty well received at the time. And yeah, I think it should be. It's like, I know we're kind of coming at it from like a few different angles here. But I don't know, I think it's a very special movie, and I think to be even more fair, we should kind of zoom out. And if you think about the landscape of martial arts cinema and really strong Chinese language cinema in 2018, I don't know, I think especially from the kind of perspective that we might have, it's really it's more of a drought era, you know, I think in like some of our minds, and
as opposed to the rain in the film.
And so I think this is like a really important, you know, standout in kind of the last, you know, 7 or 8 years. And also I mean, I think there's some really special action beats and action choreography that to me don't feel like rehashed sequences from earlier Zhang Yimou films or kind of carbon copies of other things that we've seen. There's this, you know, yin yang concept that's really central to the action of the film, and the way that actually gets depicted in terms of like the counterbalance of your body, of like your legs versus your, I don't know, I thought a lot of that was really visually so striking, and yeah, like super inspired. I could imagine a world where you get a little bit of a kind of blood pumping cold open to kick off the movie that could have maybe done you a couple of extra favors. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, it's pretty interesting, and I think maybe this is our chance to start talking about the movie itself. But this film, if you rewatch it again, you're not like really rewarded with any extra layers of insight. but the last shot of the movie matches the first shot of the movie, which I think is pretty interesting, and it kind of makes you think about what's happening. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, we'll do back of the VHS and hop right in, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah, sure. This movie came out in 2018, so there's no VHS or DVD, so I'm going to do the Amazon synopsis. Director Zhang Yimou of Hero and House of Flying Daggers once again pushes the boundaries of wuxia action to create a film like none other. In a kingdom ruled by an unpredictable king, the military commander has a secret weapon, a shadow who can fool both his enemies and the king himself. Now he must use this weapon in an intricate plan that will lead his people to victory. Yeah, the overall plot isn't that complicated. There's two kings, there's two kingdoms, there's the Pei and Jing, and the king of Pei is the kind of weakling that we were talking about that wants peace like a pansy. How dare he?
Yeah.
And it goes as far as to his sister. We think he's going to marry off the sister to Jing, but actually the young prince of Jing wants to make her a concubine, which everyone is insulted by except for him. And meanwhile, his second in command, this commander he doesn't really have a name, right? He's just kind of the commander.
Yeah.
Right?
So a lot of the cast, the like Madam,
the name,
and Commander,
yeah, like Madam or the King Pei.
Yeah. What you'll find out is that his name is Jing, and that's in reference to the city that they want to take back.
Yeah.
But the commander is it's just like a prince and a pauper situation in a way, where you have like the actual commander is in hiding, and it seems to be that he's in recovery from a wound after a duel with the opposing country, and it's a General Yang that represents that kingdom Pei or whatever. Sorry.
It's a little confusing.
But he's lost the duel and he's suffering from this wound, but at the same time he has a young man that looks similar to him, and he's acting as the commander, and he has to fake this wound, and that's the kind of the setup for our movie. But
the namesake of the movie, he's the shadow.
Yeah, he's the shadow.
Yeah, he is the shadow.
And of course, the look similar. It's the same actor playing against himself.
Yeah, Deng Chao.
Deng Chao.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the kind of the big conflict of the movie is the shadow is becoming more and more of the real person, and by the end is the real person essentially. And the real commander is kind of losing his mind. He's a drunk.
Kind of a Kung Fu Severance vibe, actually.
a little bit. He's a little bit of the innie. But, and that of course leads to, because it's a movie, and if you're going to have a weird two persons are the same person thing, you have to have a weird sex scene related to it. Because Jing is kind of falling in love with the commander's wife, who of course sees more of the person that she loves in this shadow. And then of course in the scene whenever they do finally have sex, there's he's being a real weirdo looking through like a little peephole. This voyeuristic.
And that kind of lines up with, that's like one of the visual motifs like Carlos was just talking about, like at the beginning and end of the film. This idea of sort of like peering in and observing, and I think like some of that material's there as far as like maybe broader, I don't know, allegory or something like, are you really private? Are your secrets really safe? That kind of a thing. And but also what's I think really juicy about this concept of the shadow is how he can be trained to sort of like fight like the genuine article, and then this kind of affords us this chance to have these three characters who are in on the secret kind of train and ultimately hone like a new form of kung fu. I was thinking in my notes, like if this was made in the 70s, it would basically be like girl kung fu.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean
It's-
that we have seen stuff similar to that
Yeah.
in our kung fu movies, where it's like like they have to increase the femininity of their kung fu to win.
Oh yeah, I think of executioners from Shaolin.
Oh
or
yeah,
Yeah.
I
totally.
think of even Drunken Master. The 8 drunken
Mhm.
gods. There's the female.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. And yeah, honestly, I feel like you get enough in the film, but you'd almost want a little bit more. Like, and
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
honestly, the cast would be better served with maybe 1 or 2 more females in the lead. But I also
Yeah,
understand
totally.
that it's a pretty tight cast in itself.
Mhm.
So maybe different paradigms could get in the way. But yeah, right at the beginning, you've got this scene where the commander arrives at the king's court, and you also see that the madam is basically foretelling that the reign will continue, and after so many days that will lead them to victory. But the king is pressing them, and you get to this moment where Zithar comes to play, and she and her husband, the commander, are known for playing, but they almost get caught because I guess the shadow he hasn't done his homework enough, and that's the one thing that could trip him up. So I think that's pretty funny, but it actually is pretty tense in how they handle it, and I think that's pretty good, and that's a clue to the skills of this shadow. He's pretty clever, and that helps him progress throughout the film.
And also keeps this threat kind of alive that the king could easily be on to them.
Yeah, you get a handful of moments where you kind of feel like he does understand what's happening, but maybe for strategy's sake, he's letting things continue.
And then I think one of the probably most memorable ideas from the film is kind of like following that. They kind of come to just accept that they're really going to need to sell his identity as much as possible, including this like nearly mortal wound that the commander has suffered. And so that's
and he has to
really
cut it.
powerful scene where he has to actually like just inflict the wound willingly.
Yeah. And has to like infect it too,
Yeah.
like not just have the cut, but also make it look real gross.
He's rubbing like dirt in it or something.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, there's again, like y'all were saying, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's real good, but it's just I just wish that there was a little more of it,
And
Or
you can
kinda came
imagine
together
it's
more.
like, let's say this is like Tony, or Jet Li or somebody. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, these scenes are gonna just explode,
Mhm.
And again, it's no knock to like everyone, and it's similar, I think, like some of the attitudes I might have to a lot of Bollywood. It's like everyone seems like a nice enough person, but it's like that isn't really the currency of movies, It's like
Yeah, I get you.
the currency of movies is it's like there's something about these faces that grab you. There's something
Yeah.
about just the charisma of these people that you can't look away.
I think the king does have a little bit of that flavor, but he's not in it enough.
Yeah.
And he's
I
so
wish-
I do
young
like-
too. Like I don't know. It's interesting casting, I think, for him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
I did like the king, but yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a statement of some kind that it's like this very young, like basically a kid looking king that's doesn't know how the world really works or whatever. I do like the little sister character. I do think that she has a cool little arc because she goes from getting basically sold off to try to build peace to later in the movie she's part of like the invading force that's trying to attack Jing and ends up killing the young king herself with their sick umbrella blades.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which that whole sequence is real kind of goofy.
There's a whole bunch of so we can talk about the action a bit more. And
yeah, the action's very much like kind of the second half of the movie has most of the action.
Yeah, we mentioned this feminine style, but yeah, the representative weapon is an umbrella. And there's this idea that is established right at the beginning that there is a duel between the commander and the General Yang, and he fights with a guandao, a long saber. And it's so cool to me how they handle the choreography, the round shape of the umbrella and the straight sharpness of the spear. And they mention yin and yang, and we're talking about male and female. That's handled really well. And you also get this like Mortal Kombat like blade umbrella with the army, which is funny. And honestly, the setting for the duel is this like big bamboo platform with the yin and yang on it. Yeah. And it's kind of a Trojan horse when he arrives to this duel. All of the kind of soldiers are prepared to swim under the river to enter the city.
With their ye olde scuba gear.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Right.
Yeah, there's some like anachronisms too, because it's like it's like an ambiguous period piece. It's not really based in like true history. It alludes to it, but then at the same time you've got this weird technology of these like bladed umbrellas that can launch like, but I mean, we were talking about House of Flying Daggers, and this is wuxia, so I'm not being critical of it, but it's like kind of surprising to see. And then you also get that the soldiers have these crossbows, these like automatic little like hand devices. And I think it's so funny too, because they make a point to say that it has so much ammo, and you see them like kind of sneaking into the city and they're taking out soldiers. But then when it comes to the one-on-one battle, they put those down. And I was like, wait, you just keep doing that. Why do they? But at the same time, then they bust out these umbrellas. And there's this moment where they're sneaking in, where they get to this point where they are like a cascade of these umbrellas like surfing down the main.
They let her rip.
Yeah,
it's like a Beyblade.
It is like a Beyblade. But I also have you guys ever played a GameCube game called Odama? This is published by Nintendo game. But it's
that does ring a bell.
Yeah, it's developed by Yu Saito. He's the guy that made Seaman. So he's like known for making weird stuff. But this game, it's
like the pinball game.
Yeah, it's a feudal era game.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's also a pinball game, and for some reason, this reminded me of something like that. Like you're getting these two things from way off to the sides that are just getting thrust together. And
again, it like so much of the movie is played so serious and so melodramatic, and this is so goofy.
Then they're spinning their way into the town,
spinning their way and like getting taken out, and like their bodies are on the street while there's still this dervish of death going down the road.
But at the same time, you've also got the duel between this commander, the Shadow, and the general, and he seems like an honorable person, and he's they're bowing to these traditions of this duel, and it's basically like a 3-round kind of whoever lands an attack wins the round. So it's a very structured battle, but it's also a very desperate situation where it's basically who wins and who loses. This could be declaration of war, or this could be a horrible defeat for a whole country. And I love all that. It's so good.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The setting with the giant yin and yang, which also serves as like their training ground with the commander and his shadow, that looks so cool. And honestly, the bamboo platform with the yin and yang on it looks like a Soul Calibur stage.
It's totally.
Yeah,
there's like
a total fighting game stage.
Yeah. But yeah, the choreography is so cool to me, and the play between these two weapons visually looks really great. And the way that they handle addressing this as a feminine style is really cool. And I just wanted a little bit more out of that, but it looks awesome. But you also get the battle of the princess kind of she's proving herself. I'm not just going to be a concubine. And that also is pretty great, and the way that she encounters that man. The thing that's interesting to me too is that you get everything from this side of the conflict. You don't really get any perspective on the Jing City side of the conflict outside of knowing who that general is and his son. You have no idea who they are. You have no idea what their motivations are, whether they're good or bad, or the status of the people living in that town. All you do is you see them kind of run when they see all these people sneaking in.
Let's say I don't know, they kind of feel about the same as the Fey people. Like they don't really seem any different.
Yep. It's interesting to me.
No, it's going, and again, it raises a really interesting question about the world, and the movie is not interested in exploring it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a cool fight with the two of them, because the young general like seems to get the kind of final blow in, but she of course does the last second stab to take him out.
Yeah, and it's using the gifted blade that they sent
that's
to her.
so good. Yeah, they sent the
really cool.
wedding gift was this blade, and she stabs him with it.
Yeah, all the weaponry, all the armor, and of course the clothing, it all looks super good. I love the general's armor. It looks awesome. And then
it's super textured too, and it's just like the way that contrasts with the rain and everything. Yeah, so cool.
And towards the end of the conflict, in the center of this movie, you see that things are getting bloody and desperate. The general wins the duel, but then the commander demands more, and he warns him. He's like, "Look, if we fight again, it's life or death," and that's what happens. Some really brutal, very bloody, and
I was curious about y'all's take on like how the kind of, I don't know, almost like the gore of it. I had like a weird something about like it tonally felt like it wasn't stitching the rest of the movie or something, maybe for me.
It goes a little, just a little further than what I was expecting when I originally saw it. But I guess it kind of, I don't know if it's maybe because of the visual style of the film, they wanted to emphasize the blood, that, and it's this really deep, rich looking blood. And I think visually it has a really great impact. But there's the killing blow on that general is like the flick of one of the umbrella blades.
Yeah.
And he slices
it slits his throat.
And honestly, the guy seemed like a pretty legit
He seemed like an okay dude. He won the duel, and he said basically he didn't even say like I win, you can leave. He said we'll call it a draw.
Yeah.
And walks away.
He recognizes the skill behind this technique with the umbrella.
But you're totally right. The blood feels like this whole scene kind of feels like a different movie. Not like tonally, but like visually. I don't know how to say exactly. But it feels like the level of violence, the level of kind of silliness feels more like almost not quite exploitation level, but like closer to that than anything else in the movie does.
Well, I wonder if there's something too, like some of the things we're saying about the challenges of like digital cinema. I don't know, like there are probably weird kind of psychological implications to like the violence and the blood, where it's like, oh wait, on the one hand everyone is like perfectly airbrushed and like wealthy plastic surgery class of people, it feels like to me mostly. And so that it's like I don't know what it is, like I'm just not ready for the gore and blood, and it doesn't really seem to like mean much. I don't know. Or I almost had the feeling like I was supposed to think like, oh bro, that's so cool, and I was like, oh I don't really think it's so cool, and it's also not really scary. I don't know. It was interesting.
And like towards the end of that fight, when Commander he kind of gets impaled on the bamboo, it's like It's a little.
That's a real like ooh.
Yeah, he's
kind of that it's like in movies where you'll see people get their heads cut off and you don't think anything, but if someone gets like a splinter in their finger, then you're like, ooh,
man.
Yeah, totally. I did. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this commander's motivations too, because like I said earlier, the king really wanted peace, and this commander is basically saying like, hey, the people want to take this city back, and it's like, oh, I don't know. And then like when everything comes to a head, and he's like forcing his hand, and he's basically creating this secret army. He says like, I found all these murderers and killers, and they're ready to fight for our cause. And I was like, wait, what's happening? And then like towards the end of
this, right? I guess.
Yeah, the end of the movie, the true commander who's hiding in the shadows, this shadow puppeteer, he's talking about, how we're gonna take over, and I'll be playing everyone from the shadows, and I'll be the next true king. And I was like, man, this is kind of like some January 6th vibes in this movie. Like,
yeah, he is kind of the deep state. Yeah,
like, what's going on here?
There is some kind of weird, again, like
selfies and stuff.
Yeah. No, totally. It's like, yeah, no, I'm going to be the real king. Although that's the thing, he just says that, but his intention is to just take his place as the commander again, and to kill and to kill our Jing or Shadow. But that I do like, again, talking about the kind of fake world where the wuxia movies take place. Apparently
Jianghu.
infections, the Jianghu, the infections don't exist here because this guy he gets stabbed like 6 different times. He gets stabbed that's a cool scene where he like blocks a dagger by holding his arm up, and it stabs through his arm.
But yeah, like no wound is too gaping. Like, yeah.
And he just pulls it out and walks back in the rain. That is a cool. Yeah.
So there was that whole thing too with the shadow. He's kind of under duress too, because he's given the promise that, hey, once this happens and we retake Jing City, you can come back to the city and you'll be reunited with your mother. And then after this death-defying duel, and he's at the grip of death and he survives and they take the city and then he makes it there, then you see that the mom was killed. And not only that, but then there's these assassins that are trying to kill him, and then he's saved by
some
ninjas
awesome,
show up.
That is a great sequence. I mean, it has
it is a good fight,
that uncanny gore kind of element to it, but yeah, it really kind of evoked that great sequence in Miracle Fighters towards the beginning, the fight in the shack.
Oh yeah,
where you have this random ninja sort of flying from wherever. But yeah, also like some part of me wants a version where like the mother reveal is a little more like Yunwu Pingish and kind of funny. I know that's like horrible to say, but it is almost. It's like 80% of the way there. Like he flips her body around and there's like a knife sticking out of it, and Zhang Yimou's like brought the camera in real close. It's like, whoa.
And it feels like it kind of like, I know just from the context of the movie, this is his mother, so this is a serious thing. But like, I don't know this person. I've never seen them in the movie.
Right.
I only know I care about it because
it's like I don't like when people have knives in them. So like I'm against that.
I hate that. It's my least favorite thing. But yeah, you're right. It almost has like a comedy beat to it where it's just like reveal it and it's like, oh well, and now ninjas show up and okay, what we got to rocket towards the end of the movie, I guess.
Yeah, and really what sets off the end of the film is that they're going to have a ceremony celebrating the taking of the city, and the king basically dismisses everyone. And at the same time, you see like these soldiers who also have this amazing armor with a face mask on and stuff.
Yeah.
They're going
Yeah,
to
that's really cool.
the true commander's lair to kill him. And he dismisses everyone except for the commander and the madam, and also Lou, who was this servant that's been kind of a B-roll throughout the film,
Yeah.
and kind of a loyalist. But what you find out is that the king knew that he was a spy, and he kills him on sight.
Yeah.
And it's a bit shocking.
That actor
to-
really popped. I thought he was one of my favorite
Yeah,
pieces
I
of
agree.
casting, I think.
Yep. Yeah, he was really good. And then he calls out everyone. He's like, "Hey, I know what's going on, and we're gonna, we'll see. I have something to show you guys." And one of those soldiers walks out with a box, and Madam is a bit shocked. She's afraid at what she's going to see in that box. But the viewer pretty much knows that this soldier is masked. You don't see his face. Unfortunately, the king doesn't understand the rules of movies, and he's a bit gloating, and he is then stabbed.
I do
free.
like that the box is empty. It wasn't something else. Like, I don't know, something about that was real striking.
So yeah, now you have this situation where the true commander is out of his lair, and he's kind of trying to pull these strings, and you get a moment where the shadow, there's a saying, what is it, like the shadow can't exist without the true self, and he finally takes decisions into his own hands, and he's able to wound the commander, and the shadow can exist without the original. And he also sets it up where the shadow command, now the true commander, he makes it look like he killed the king, and that's also another kind of cringy
And
scene
when he
where
covers
he's driving,
his mask with
Yeah,
his face
that's-
with the mask, that was a real strong beat.
Yeah.
Oh.
and you see like this dual image of the shadow's face, and then also the silhouette that the guy was seeing of him with his wife, which is pretty telling. And then he walks out to the waiting public and says that the king was assassinated, and you don't really understand where he's going to go from there. But you also get this final shot of the movie where you have Madam in a panic running towards the door. She knows what's happened, but you see that she hesitates before she opens the door, and the movie ends.
Yeah. You don't know,
Yeah,
like,
super
what, is she gonna
inspired.
say it or
final,
is she gonna not?
final
Yeah.
shot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
that was
very good
great.
final shot.
Yeah, so it was a bit up and down for me. But I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed revisiting
Yeah,
it.
same here.
And visually, I also really love this like ink wash style. I guess we didn't really mention it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it is a film shot in color, but it's very desaturated, and I think the atmosphere of this rainy world that we're seeing is really cool. It's scratching at something really great, but I just think it kind of, I don't know, some soft edges on it that really didn't kind of put it to the top for me.
Yeah.
No, that's well put. It seems like we're all landing in kind of a similar
Mhm.
spot with it, I think.
We didn't mention there's like during like one of the battles, there's like a kind of a match cut to like the commander and the madam having like this Zitar battle.
Yeah. They're playing the
having,
zithers
like,
like
a-
at each other because they said earlier that like the two of them have the that they play beautifully together. And this is them actually playing, and it's kind of them playing while punctuated by the battle. It's very cool, and of course they're playing it in the middle of yin yang taijutsu, I think taijutsu, something like that. That's what the yin yang thing's actually called. Which I looked into that a little bit because that's one of those, like, there's a couple of different versions of that symbol, and the main one that's actually used in Chinese philosophy and stuff isn't the one that we think of, but it's played very cool in this in this scene where they're sitting in the dots in the middle of their respective sides.
Yeah.
Nice on the nose, visual language.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that the trailer does a good job of gathering a lot of the strong kind of images of the movie. So I would say if you're at all kind of leaning into that trailer, definitely check it out.
Yeah, that's Shadow. Yeah, again, I enjoyed it. It's definitely just how it goes whenever you do an arc and you go chronologically. That sometimes it starts in a, oh my god, this movie was incredible, and ends in a, yeah, it's pretty good. You know.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't cover with him too.
Yeah, Zhang Yimou's made like 40 movies or something. It's a lot.
Yeah. And there's a couple recent films that I haven't seen yet that I've been interested in checking out. I think there's even a movie that he co-directs with his daughter, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I think that's right.
And
then there's like that drama with Gong Li after Curse of the Golden Flower that I remember hearing good things about. And I mean, still kicking, still with us, still I think a lot of fuel in the tank. So
totally,
who knows what we'll get next from Zhang Yimou.
You never know. 74 years young.
I would love to hear what people think of the Great Wall.
I should have. I meant to watch it before doing this last one. I should have.
Maybe we should do some kind of arc where we have like the Great Wall and Red Cliff and some of these like, going for broke 2010s kind of projects. It's interesting.
It's true. Yeah, it's cool. This is kind of a tangent, but it's cool now that we're 5 years into the 2020s, kind of seeing the 2010s kind of coalesce into an identity. Instead of it just being recent, which it happens every decade. I remember being right out of college and kind of seeing like, oh, this is like what the 2000s. This is like their identity now. So it's neat seeing that, and there's definitely some pretty strong things where when you look at it, you're like, oh man, that's 2015.
Right.
But yeah, overall thoughts about the whole arc.
Ooh,
I was, again, going into this, I had only seen Hero, and so it was cool to get more kind of perspective on the filmmaker here, and it's To Live is so good, but it is so devastating. That it's kind of hard to go back and revisit, but Raise the Red Lantern, I think I will. That's also pretty devastating, but it's just so visually stunning. And despite it's so funny. It's visually stunning despite many of the shots not moving. It's so good, and that is definitely one I will be revisiting a lot.
Yeah, same here.
No, yeah, totally. And I love this idea. I don't know if we always end up kind of totally reflecting at the end of our.
Sometimes we rank stuff.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah.
The idea of ranking these movies is deranged.
No. It would be cool to bring some alpha energy to it, but you're like just talking like kind of reminds me of like that amazing Key and Peele sketch where they riff on that like stereotype about like talking in the theater, but then it's like their characters are like, yeah, has this guy even heard of mise en scene? And it's like they end up just having this like really deep like film analysis like at the top of their lungs and stuff.
I mean, has this dude even heard of mise en scene? Put some information up in the frame, bitch. Oh, I get it, yeah. I'm an overexposed to film, getting a ethereal look. Man, this.
I'd love to see some like ranking where they just talk about like, how crushing those like dramatic beats are and Raise the Red Lantern. No, I'm so grateful that we've done this. It's been looming for a while because it just has to be said. Zhang Yimou, his work is extremely towering, so important when it comes to the Chinese speaking world of cinema and just cinema period. And I think honestly it's a really interesting story, this development. It's not quite like a tale of George Lucas or something, but there's maybe some shades that are sort of similar to that. But I would say even with where we landed on Shadow, it's less that there's an artist kind of like abandoning all of their ideals or getting a little like soft on their skills. And I do think it probably has much more to do with just adapting to the actual marketplace that makes the movies possible. And what a little sort of minor miracle that you have this incredible artist that blows up before China has like risen to its like most powerful form, and before Hong Kong has officially joined the country, and he's kind of prepared to kind of navigate that transition. We mentioned with Hero that there's a little bit of this like political optimism to it. It's like, well, can this be kind of like one nation, united? And there certainly are much more egregious examples of old Chinese and old Hong Kong artists being like much more sycophantic to the regime than I think anything that Zhang Yimou has done. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really interesting case. And like politics aside, following this filmmaker who makes these very quiet, sometimes heart-wrenching, dramatic films, get really preoccupied with wuxia action. Like that's super interesting, and he is maybe one of the first people to really do this. I mean, we already talked about Wong Kar-wai with the Grandmaster, which is, still really enjoy that film. But I mean, that's years after Zhang Yimou has kind of made his turn. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's tons to celebrate in his story. There's a lot that maybe still leaves the three of us with a lot of questions or some stuff to chew on. But it's undeniable that we have some classic movies here that I think we're gonna just have on the shelf forever.
Who's doing that? Did you guys hear there's like that Bruce Lee film? Oh, I think that's Ang Lee that's making like a Bruce Lee biopic, and I think
you're right. I read some article about
something
that,
like his son is playing the lead, and it's been like the secret training he's been doing and stuff. Some weird. I remember hearing that a little while ago. But.
Weird.
Man, I missed this chance for like Ang Lee was doing a Q&A and like a Brokeback Mountain screening like here in Minneapolis like a couple months ago, and I was like tied up and not able to get out of my thing, and it was like but yeah,
so close.
Hopefully kind of following your upcoming panel, dude. Yeah, hopefully there are more stories like that, more occasions for maybe us to even get to meet and thank some of these artists we love.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's get out of here. On to the next one.
On to the next one. Yeah, I'm very excited for this. So stick around to the end to see what the training is for next week. But for now, thank you so much for checking out our show. If you enjoyed it, then you can check us out on all of the social medias, your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, your Blue Sky, and your Threads. We're at Heroes the Number 3 podcast on all of them. If you have do you have a secret shadow of yourself that you keep around just in case? Probably don't tell us that. But if you have a cool thing to talk about, Zhang Yimou or Hero or Shadow or anything like that, send us an email at heroesthenumber3podcast@gmail.com.
Oh, you know what? We had a nice email.
We did have a nice email. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull it up and read it because that's very nice. Get through these 8,000 emails from Spotify.
Oh yeah, we've been battling Spotify. Do you listen to us on Spotify? You may notice some weirdness.
Yeah, you might have some episodes are gone, and also we're probably going to have a different outro music because I think our outro music is what's getting us flagged.
I think that's exciting though. I think
it's exciting. Really exciting. It's cool stuff. If you're listening this far, you're a true believer. So
yeah.
We got an email from the name on the email just says Dina Bush, so I don't know if that's really your name or not. But they said, "Hey guys, really enjoyed your reviews of Zhang Yimou films since I saw them years ago and enjoyed them. I was going to suggest another early film of Yimou's called Judo, which is also pretty good too.
Very good.
Another good but obscure one worth checking out is a truly weird and crazy 1967 Japanese spy satire called The Age of Assassins. It's only streaming on the Internet Archive and available on DVD at a reasonable price, but not on Amazon. It's strange as hell, but hilarious. You understand us, Dina. Thank you.
That's
is
awesome.
Yeah,
that is exactly our speed.
yeah, it's been on my list to watch for a while. I haven't seen it. I
Mhm.
believe it stars Tatsuya Nakadai, and he's
Mhm.
amazing. So, yeah. So this was from a couple months ago. So I do apologize, but it was frequent commenter Nar Tiger, Nar Tiger, and
I get all those NARs.
that's right. He posed the question to us. If you had to assemble a 5-person Power Rangers team made up of Kung Fu cinema actors to fight Mechagodzilla and his robot minions, what would your team be?
Oh man.
So yeah, this is we got this. This is like easy stuff. I mean,
Yeah, let's say
The tragedy of there only being one Dean Sheck is really
oh yeah, that's
really
right.
hitting me right now.
Dean Sheck's the Green Ranger that comes in.
Yeah, he would be like the
Dude, he'd
Yeah.
pull off the Green Ranger hair like it's nothing. Oh
well,
my God.
the Red Ranger, without a doubt, would be a Wong Fei Hung. Of course,
Mhm.
we would have to have.
Oh, if you're talking about
Yeah.
if you're talking about like
So is it-
characters, I was thinking actors.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
But that's
Who's
a
saying
good.
actors?
Let's say you could only get one Wong Fei Hung actor. Is it Jackie?
Yeah.
Is it Jet? Is it Quanta King?
Whoa.
Hmm.
I mean, when we're thinking about like a Sentai team, some high flying stuff. So I do honestly feel like maybe Jet Li's the one that we're thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that, man. Totally.
Yeah. So we've got the Blue Rangers. So if we're talking about like quote unquote Power Rangers, we're talking about like this first season of Power
Yeah,
Rangers.
like the Mighty Morphin Power
Yeah.
Rangers.
Blue
Yeah.
Billy, the nerdy guy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that'd
Dude,
be a
Billy's
Yoon
got to
Yu.
be Billy. Yeah. Yoon
or
Yu.
or a Billy Yoon. Yeah.
No, that was like his name for one point. Like,
Yep.
it didn't end up taking off, but he was going to be called Billy Yoon.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
there you
that.
go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the other one, like Juan Yuen or something like that, or there was something with Juan that was a name for Yuen Bu.
I want
Oh,
that.
Yeah, there was kind of
That
like
was- that was very
Latino
funny.
thing.
That's hilarious.
So Yellow, that's crap, I haven't watched the original
Oh, I mean,
Power
no, I
Rangers
got
in
you, man.
ages.
That was Trini,
Yeah.
the Yellow Ranger.
Yeah, Trini, that's it. Yeah.
So yeah, we would. Let's see. I mean, Zhang
Yes,
Ji.
Madam Era Michelle.
Oh, or that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have. Yeah,
Willie
actually.
Ling, maybe?
So if we do the Yellow Ranger as Michelle Yeoh, yes, Madam Era, then the Pink Ranger would be informed by that as well, and we would have to have Cynthia Rothrock, no doubt.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our team. And then what's the last one?
The Black Ranger.
The Black Ranger is the last one, the team, but in their original message they actually said white for the last one.
Oh,
so that's it. I think the White Ranger is an interesting one too, like the person that kind of comes in later and is like the secret special one.
Yeah, but let's see a Black Ranger. We gotta
A Black Ranger, yeah.
So, oh man, I mean, unfortunately, it was fitting the stereotype. He was African American. They didn't stray too far from the color there.
Sama would be Zordon. That's my contribution to this.
And I mean, unfortunately, if we're talking about Hong Kong cinema, they wouldn't be beyond blackface. But we're not doing that.
No, definitely not.
We're definitely
We're not
gonna
doing that. We'll get a proper black martial artist in there.
Yeah. So I absolutely think of Eugene Thomas from the Super Ninja.
My
That
God,
dude is amazing, and he needs to be in more everything. So
he needs to be in everything with the same bad white voice actor dubbing over.
oh man, that clip. Oh no. White people, the people you hate? I always think of that.
Can we just do the Super Ninja again for next week?
Absolutely. But no, we will not be doing that.
We will not be doing that. Yeah, what did they? Thank you so much,
that was
Nar Tiger. That's a super fun one.
Yeah, that was great.
But yeah, so thank you again. If you have any fan mail, if you have any questions, we will definitely talk about them on the show. So shoot us an email at heroesnumber3podcast@gmail.com. So with all that out of the way, we are done with our Zhang Yimou arc, so we are moving on to something else. So Carlos, what is our training for next week?
So we're going to do an animated transition to our next arc. And sticking with, I guess, I don't know, my taste in anime. It's going to be something older. And
What?
I want to have us discuss Riding Bean. This is from
Oh yeah.
1989. This is by the creator Kenichi Sonoda. And yeah, it's going to be really fun. We're talking about kind of the reverse of a weeaboo.
Yeah, Westaboo.
Westaboo. I like that.
Sure.
That's what we're going to be discussing, and I do believe we'll have a guest with us. And
Yes, hopefully.
Once we get to this episode, then I'll talk about what we're going to be doing next.
Yes, yeah, what we got for the summer proper. I am very excited for it. But until then, next week we are doing Riding Bean. So until then, I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And we are the Heroes 3. Remember your training. Heroes 3 is part of the Mercado Brothers Podcast Network.